Hi, my name is Jim Lindhorst and I'm with Dark Corporation. Welcome to the presentation, Streamlining Multiple Instantiation in Oracle Configurator Developer. As most of you know, the new Fusion Configurator engine was released with 12.1.1. There are many fixes with regard to multiple instantiation that were covered in this release. This presentation focuses mostly on a customization that was done in 11.5.10. I will touch on the changes that were made with the Configurator engine release and how I would have used those to correct some of the customizations that had to be achieved using 11.5.10. Standard multiple instantiation. The way multiple instantiation of a model and/or a component is originally designed with Oracle's Configurator Developer is fantastic for multiple configurations of diverse option content. If I have multiple instances of one model where I'm going to change questions or change selections, and for multiple options, the standard way works probably the best. What gets to be a problem is if you have an instance that you want to repetitively change, but the instance itself remains the same except for a few questions. So you could theoretically have the user answering the same questions 20 times if you had 20 selections, and have the same answers 19 of those times, and then one of those times just have to change it for each instance. Let's take a look at the Vision Industries computer network. This is pretty much how multiple instantiation was designed and what it was designed for. You have a PTO model with a configurable server, and then you have many instances of ATO models for workstations, and you have printers and so forth. This is a fantastic setup for how standard Oracle multiple instantiation works. But again, what if you have something that's a little bit different or unique? How could we streamline the process? Again, what if the item to be configured had the majority of its options the same, with one or two variable options? Should the user have to select common options for every instance? To me, this becomes tedious, and for the user itself, especially if you have to use the tool all the time, it would become burdensome to use the tool, to say the least. Here's some possible examples. I was an application engineer for many years in heavy-duty truck, and I know from my own experience that there are two components that are purchased that are put on heavy-duty truck chassis that are highly configurable. However, if you were going to order them, most times you're ordering the same components over and over again with just a couple of minor tweaks or fixes. A heavy-duty truck rear axle and a heavy-duty truck engine. Let's first take a look at the rear axle. A very complex assembly and highly configurable. Let's say that you're going to build 100 trucks and you're going to order 100 axles for this customer. All of these axles would have the same components for the most part. They would have the same brakes, the same hubs, the same drive lines. You would have the same components for 90% of each unit that you would order. But let's say we have some slight variations. Let's say 50 of the axles are to be used with, let's call it suspension A, and they're going to have a rear axle ratio of 4.89. Let's say the other 50 axles are going to be used with suspension B, and 25 of those are going to have a 5.29 rear axle ratio, and the other 25 are going to have a 5.89 rear axle ratio. What you end up with is 4 unique product configurations. From experience, 25 to 30 questions are required, are the same for all four. So the user has to basically answer at least 25 questions for each axle the same way for those four instances. The two most variable options are the ones that differentiate the configuration. I'll tell you that you'll buy hundreds and hundreds of the same axle with the same brakes, all the components are the same weight ratings, but what you're going to end up changing mostly is what the end user is going to want, and that is what suspension it's going to be hooked up to and what rear end ratio is going to give them the desired performance based on the truck's application.